Hello, beloved bus browsers and coach crazies. This is Jeremy and Matt from Holiday Coach and Auto. In this little short episode, we're going to tell you about some new additions and changes to inventory. We're going to talk about recap and market news, but we'll keep it short. So, Matt, go ahead and kick it off for us.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to keep you all day, but we do want to come to the topic of the day, which is the headlines, the stock market, the reasons that we're getting from you guys that you're not buying, which is generally pretty much concerns over tariffs, the stock market, education systems and what's happening with those. We're just getting a lot of people, a lot of deals, offers accepted, financing accepted, insurance accepted, and right before you pull that trigger, you kind of like, but what about the economy? Like, I just don't know that I'm ready to buy a bus because, Matt, the economy's looking gray, or Jeremy, the economy's looking gray. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Well, we've had that conversation so many times. We want to do a really quick video on it so we can say, you know what? Instead of taking up your time, let me send you this quick video so that way you can just watch it and hear what we've got to say about that. Because I don't think our mindset's going to change. And if it does, we'll delete this video to make sure that nobody's confused. But we did do a good job about a month, maybe 2 months ago, back around the original tariffs of February, kind of preemptively telling people what to do for the spring. So if you did watch that video and do it, you're probably not as hung up and concerned right now, which was telling you to stockpile on parts that you thought you were going to need for the spring in preparation for tariffs that were to come. And then, those tariffs got put on, taken off, kind of like the hokey pokey and all that, but they're on now. And I'm hearing a lot of you guys talk about your parts are going up, which we're going to get to that here in a moment as well. To dive straight into today's videos, we can look at the stock market, and of course the screen would change, but I had all my stock markets up there, but it's okay. This is just looking at the Dow. I had the S&P, the NASDAQ, all of those up there to kind of show they're all trending down. But we see it if we go a little bit closer into we could quickly see this trajectory right here over the last 3 months, which has kind of been, the first part of the year. We see that it's going down. So yes, the economy's been going down, but what I could tell you is while that's been going down, charter sales for our affiliated company, as well as a lot of the bigger companies that I talk to, charter sales have been going up. If we would have to invert this chart to reflect our sales, but also the sales of a lot of the companies that we're talking to, because they're having the best springs ever. So we're preparing now for our 6th or 7th sold out weekend in a row. A lot of our larger companies that we're selling for are as well. That's what's holding them up on listing some coaches that they plan to list. So you would have to invert the economy chart to reflect the charter market. And that's what a lot of people are getting tied up on are these headlines. These headlines are what you guys see day in and day out. The media has found out that they can sell based on fear. So the scarier the headline, the more clicks and the more reads they're going to get. And that's all they're doing. Now, are there real things to be concerned about? Absolutely. I'm definitely concerned about the tariffs. I'm definitely concerned about possibly defunding the education system and what that could do to field trips. I'm obviously concerned about a lot of these headlines, but I can't, structure my business based on that because today the charter market is booming. Like I said, we've got field trips galore going to DC, the beach and all of that, just like they normally are. This is the busiest spring that I think we've seen on our books. And I'm hearing that from a lot of the operators when I'm asking them these questions. Hey, how's your spring looking? I don't know that I've talked to one that said that their spring was not looking good or was down. I think everybody's talking about maybe not their best spring ever, but they're all saying their spring is booming. But a lot of the bigger companies that are in IMG, UMA, all of that we sell for, they are having their best springs ever from what they tell me, which goes in line with what I'm seeing here. So, you can focus on these headlines or focus on growing your business. You can't do both in times like this because the headlines are telling you not to grow and to be scared. That's what they're all screaming there. And I think Jeremy's got something to say.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Matt, I spoke with somebody earlier today. He's a member of UMA, and I talked to him. They said, man, if we had more buses, we would take off. We would buy more. It's just that we're trying to pay some of the COVID buses that we bought. They capitalized on those COVID buses, and they missed out. They got that opportunity. Some of you wanted that, the cheaper buses, the great diamond in the rough. You missed it. These guys got it. And now because of that, they're paying off the last bill. But otherwise, they're saying, like Matt was saying, it's not just us. It's other companies. We're not just saying us. We represent everybody. We're talking to people. They're telling us the same thing. But to that point, talking about tariffs, if you look at just the DJI, it looks bad. But you got to look at it a different way. It's like losing weight. If you give me more of these, I want them. I'll eat them. But rejecting myself from these can be tough. But it pays off in the long term when you hop on the scale. If somebody says, man, you look like so you lost some weight. So right now, we're feeling the pain that comes along with it right now. But in the long term, when things settle out, you're going to be further and further ahead. It's just the tough time that we're going through now. Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, to tell you, what I'm trying to tell you from the start of this video and what we're trying to say is Focus on the headlines or focus on growing your business. But I can tell you right now, business in the charter market is booming, and that's pretty typical for normal recessions. And when I say normal, you've got to take out COVID. That one did bring the bus industry to their knees, but it was a viral pandemic that was basically telling everybody to stay home. So obviously, can't stay home on a bus. So that's why it affected the bus industry the way it did. And it's still fresh on our minds that, hey, that downturn in the economy was a downturn for the bus industry, and that it was. But that's the first time that that's ever happened. The 2008 recession, recessions prior to that, the dot-com boom, all of those affected the market, in a lot of segments. But for the most part, it really didn't affect the bus industry. Did we see certain segments slow down? I'm sure the family reunions did. I'm sure things like that did slow down. But for the most part, from what I remember, I was a little bit younger in the business then, but I don't, talking to my family about it, I don't feel like it impacted the bus industry the way that COVID did. A lot of, my father always tells me, the bus industry is one of those that's pretty recession proof. So, even if we are going into a recession, which at this point, the last recession, taking out COVID, was over 10 years ago. And historically, every 10 years, we're due for a correction or recession. So that would not surprise me if that's what happens in the next 12 to 24 months. I've been saying it's going to happen for 2-3 years now. We actually met the definition last year before it was changed. But even if that's the case, it doesn't really make a difference. The charter market is still going to boom because military still travel, school field trips, they don't just stop. All of these things happen. So you can worry about these headlines and what impact that's going to have on your business. You can focus on growing it. Because I know an operator down in Georgia that just took delivery of 6 new Prevo coaches. Guys, I don't know if you want to do the math on that really quickly, but that's over $4 million that they just invested in their business to grow. So they're not letting the headlines direct that. They're seeing their books are filled up and they need more assets to do that. So that's all I'm going to harp on that. Like I said, we don't want to keep you all day, but I did just want to let you know that, hey, we predicted this was going to happen. Hopefully you prepared for it, but if you didn't, you still have time to prepare for that. What I'm saying by that is go ahead and buy coaches now. One thing that Jeremy and I talked about with a couple clients that you were asking us, hey, are these tariffs going to be on used coaches? The short answer to that is no. It's only on new products being imported into the U.S. or, other countries. Believe it or not, they've had tariffs on the United States for decades. They are raising tariffs going to Canada, Mexico, all these countries and all of that. They're raising what they already tariffed. But that's only going to affect on things moving across the border. But the long answer to that is yes. It will have an impact on used coach values. And what we mean by that is you're going to see a lower market. There may be people that aren't buying new, and they may start buying used. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on the used bus market. You may see companies not buy new and just keep what they've got. Again, that's going to be less inventory on the market. You could also see people buying new saying, hey, if the new bus is worth, $100,000 more, surely my 2 or 3 year old bus is worth something more than it was. And that's going to trickle down all the way to your older coaches. So indirectly, yes, tariffs, if they do stay in place, will affect the used bus market. But to wrap that whole talk up before we jump into the inventory section of the video, Jeremy, did you want to hit on this part?
Well, no, I was just going to say, you and I were talking off camera. You're talking about investing in yourself, investing in the company. You shared with me, you may get upset with me about saying this, but how you missed opportunities previously, kind of expecting those things were coming along. You were a little reserved, but now you regret it. I would just say to the guys who are watching us, invest in yourself, invest in your company. Long-term, you got to look long-term. This is a great opportunity to go ahead and do that. So that's all I'll wrap that area up and say.
Yes. You can, a lot of people miss the deals of the COVID deals. Those cheap coaches, when nobody was buying them, they were cheaper. They went up. That could be another opportunity here. From what I'm hearing, Trump was playing the long game on these tariffs. And if they're not truly going to go away, the prices you see today are going to be a lot like 3 years from now. You're going to be looking back on them like those COVID prices. Like, man, can I not get that price? It's gone. So that's just something to think about. So don't miss out on it and all of that. Grow your business. Now is a great time to invest in your business. So make it happen. Let us know what we can do to help you out with that. Let us know what we can do to, let us know what you're struggling with, what you're concerned about. We're happy to give that advice away right now. We don't charge for our consulting. We're investing in you as the customer because we know when you succeed, we succeed. So yeah, do that. But guys, let's talk about inventory real quick. We'll kind of go into that. So we do have coaches dwindling. The 47's a little off base because we've got coaches that are pending sale. We sold the 2014 last week. We sold the 2009 last week. The yellow coach, we sold that coach last week. I don't know. Maybe that's already fought the website. The temps of TS35. Van Hools. Coaches are selling. Coaches are also getting put back into service as well. So don't wait. Those people invested in their business. You should too. But we've still got a good selection of coaches on here. Mini buses, cheaper coaches. This coach here, you should definitely check it out. 1997 H341. Don't discount it because of the age. That thing is nicer than probably some of the 2015s. Just a beautiful. I mean, we couldn't really find many flaws with it. So that's a really cool. It's an H341, so it is 44 passengers, so not a full-size coach. Transit vans, got the conversions, transits. I mean, that 2004 van, I mean, it's ready for service at $40,000. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of our inventory right now. And then, of course, you get scrolling. You're going to see a lot of the newer coaches, things like that, like this 2010. We just did a price drop on it. 2011 Cetra comes with a brand new paint job. 2013 ADA wheelchair lift equipped coach down $10,000. We've got 2015 J, which does have a price reduction on it as well. Guys, right now, these price reductions, get them while they still exist. Like we were talking about a minute ago, it's going to trickle down at some point. When will it trickle down? I'm not really sure. One other thing I'm looping back in, a lot of things are exempt from the tariffs. A lot of things being traded from Canada to the U.S., Mexico to the U.S., and vice versa. Those are exempt right now. So I believe full-size coaches, some of the parts and things of that nature are exempt. They're filing for more exemptions. They had a UMA fly in. I've talked to a family member that went, as well as a couple of operators that went. They're working on that in legislature a lot right now to get these things exempt. So hopefully a lot of your parts and everything will not be affected by these tariffs in the long run. So that's something to think about as well. Be talking to your congressman. You can go to yourstate.gov, send them an email. Believe it or not, they respond. I've sent one several times during COVID just for the COVID relief, and they will actually, someone in that office will respond to you. So let your voice be heard. The bus industry is a forgotten industry, unfortunately, until a hurricane hits and they need us. But we are largely a forgotten industry. So let your senator know your concerns. That's what they're there for. You voted for them. They represent you. But they are working on getting a lot of those exemptions in place. And a lot of, try not to be political on the channel, try to be as unbiased as possible. But this next statement hopefully doesn't hit somebody wrong. But a lot of what's going on right now is the image. Trump is trying to build this powerful ego style situation. And what you're going to see is a lot of backdoor deals that get made. They don't affect that image or his power. Because he can make 400 items exempt, and as long as the bus industry, they're not going to report on that because it's irrelevant to most people. Are you going to click on a link that if you weren't in the bus industry that said that turbos are now exempt? No. So the public's probably not either, and he knows that. So there's going to be a lot of these exemptions that you may be like, why would he do that? It's because it's not going to be talked about. So this whole big bad thing can still be a presence there. I think a lot of this stuff you're going to see a lot of little exemptions and stuff like that happen that have big impacts. But the other thing that you want to look at is even on those parts, and that was a thought I forgot about a minute ago, is whenever you're talking about the parts increasing in price and how do you cover those parts that are increasing in price because, our rates, we've got to focus on rates. I don't know why everybody's so focused on getting back to 2019 rates. That's everything else in life is more expensive. I don't know about you, but the eggs, the bread, the milk, the gas, the labor, your chemicals to wash the coaches or dump in the toilets. Everything in your life, whether it's bus related or not, is more expensive. And you're used to paying that. You don't go to the grocery store and be like, you might think I wish I had the 2019 price, but it doesn't stop you from buying that banana because you've got to have it. The same thing for charters. Why should they be cheaper or why should we be focused on making those cheaper? No, as costs are increasing, you've got to increase your prices as well. So you've got to focus on, what price does it need to be? The price yesterday may not make sense for the price today, depending on what changed. The price today certainly should not reflect the 2019 price because everything that you've touched has gone up. Your customers are going to be receptive to that because they're pretty much washed into their head that costs are going up across the board. Why should it not go up on just the single item, which is your charter bus rate? So you're cutting yourself short when you're racing back to 2019, or you're cutting yourself short when you're racing to try to find new innovative ways to not reflect your true cost. And then you're coming up empty-handed on why am I losing money right now? It's because you're focused on lowering your rate instead of trying to get your rate to keep up. So a lot of our operators, when we dive down into the deepness of the situation and why am I not able to grow? That's what we found is they're trying to race that price down instead of focusing, okay, my costs have increased by say 5% and they didn't increase their cost they're charging their customer by 5%. So obviously that 5% ate into their profit. And of course, those are just made up numbers that could be 10, 15%. What I'm getting at is, don't focus on the cheapest rate. Focus on what rate needs to be to reflect what you're doing. But that's all we've got for today. Trying to keep it a little bit short. Just want to really get out there about the tariffs, get some information about there. Don't let the headlines stop you from growing, because that's what they're there to do. And a lot of you guys are letting those headlines impact you growing your business and possibly the next best time to do it. Because like I said, if we truly think prices are going to increase, which is what you're fearful of, what happens when they do and you look back and now that, for a new coach, a $600,000 bus, put a 25% tariff on it, you do the math. You're going to wish you paid $600,000 today. So don't let the headlines fear you from growing your business when the charter market is at one of the highest periods that it's ever been at. So Jeremy, you got anything to say and wrap us up?
Well, yeah, to wrap it up, I'd go back and read around a couple things. Invest in yourself, invest in your company. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Now is the time to avoid future woulda, coulda, shouldas. Now you can, could, should, and would, or would and should do that. Invest in yourself and your company. Second thing, talk to somebody who said they previously had some other buses for sale. They talked about us after they got through an audit. They said, hey, look, we were going to use you to sell it, but we're putting back in business because these people are staying busy. Now's the time to get them before they pull them back. Talked to somebody out in California, a college out there in California, and he said that they're trying to buy up stuff now because they see some of the stuff is coming. They're trying to get ahead of that. You can do that for yourself. I would check out our website, holidaycoachandauto.com. We have stuff on our lot that you don't see on site. Stuff changes regularly. We add, we sell, we drop, we add, we buy, whatever. Holidaycoachandauto.com. Give us a call, 336-808-0320. Again, 336-808-0320, holidaycoachandauto.com. Thanks for watching.
Have a great day, everybody.